ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome live here from South Korea as we're here for the Intel Extreme Masters Gyeonggi. My name is Kyle Lars. Along to my left, we have the good old Artosis, and we have the ever so lovely Dashing Funker here for our first, or second, I should say, semi-final of the tournament. Guys, excited for this match?
Yeah, I mean, we're the top four of an Intel Extreme Masters, the first one to start out the entire 2017 WCS season. And it's in Korea, my home country. You guys get to come down and experience the great culture, the food, and of course the great esports.
Oh yeah, we've been having a great time, and this matchup between ByuL and Stats actually has a potential to be an amazing best of 5 in my opinion. Most stable Protoss of 2016 against a guy on the rise. ByuL has been having a great result in 2015, but not so much in 2016. So I'm just excited to see what's gonna happen here.
He won out the Battle of Silver Surfers. He won out against Sue and has made it here. So by proxy, he's supposed to move on now and get that second place later on. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, they aren't supposed to get top fours, whereas Stats, I mean, every now and then he gets a second place, but he's a top 4 guy.
He is a top 4 guy. 5 times third or fourth place in Premier tournaments. So Funker, but can Stats actually trump that kind of position here? Do you think he has the chops to move on further?
I think he deserves to go to the finals and probably deserves to win it all. Like, he's my favorite Protoss in the whole world, to be honest. And I think he has the potential to do it. We'll see against Innovation in the finals if he actually makes it there. But Stats can definitely win this best of 5 against ByuL.
Well, let's talk about how they've gotten here, really. You've got someone like ByuL who had a little bit of trouble going up against Classic in the group stage, but then was able to kind of rise above that later on. What makes ByuL ByuL? What do you think?
Well, ByuL is kind of a full package Zerg. The thing is, he did have such a poor 2016 that we don't really think of him like that anymore. But he has everything. He's very good at the early game with rushes and whatnot. He gets very good macro the later that we go and has great decision making. It's just 2016 wasn't his year, so we forgot all this about him.
Well, I'll ask you about that in a minute, Funker, as of course we do have our second semi-final today. Tomorrow will be the grand final, same time, same place, so don't make sure to miss that, as we do have $35,000 up for grabs here for the Intel Extreme Masters Gyeonggi. So Funker, coming back to what we were talking about ByuL.
Yeah, ByuL is to me, is a great player with amazing openings, especially on maps with gold. Like, he's been having tremendous results in 2015, back when Vanny was in the pool, back when Overgrowth was in the pool. He would go like for hatchery first on the goal and just, you know, crank up a lot of units after that. That's a style of play that actually suits him very well, and we're back to those maps right now. So he has the opportunity to make those kind of plays.
You know, that's a really great point, Funka. Like, he led the charge of CJ Zergs taking all the gold bases back then. I remember that very clearly because I find it impossible to beat. But he hasn't been doing that so much on these maps. His games have been much more normal, like more like milquetoast or something. You know, they just haven't been out there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's just hiding those kind of strats for the semifinals, or does he has that in his pocket? Can he actually make it work on Legacy of the Void? But yeah, he's just all around a great macro player, and with all the strategies that you can make work these days with Hydralism and Lurkers and everything, I think he has a decent shot to give Stats a run for his money.
Well, here is our map pool here before we kind of really delve into Stats a little bit more. What do you make of the map pool that we're seeing so far in the map order?
Well, again, to what Funko was saying, the first 3 maps all do have gold places. If he wants to revert to his old style of play, that could work out very well for him here. But you know, I guess that's what we're going to have to see is stylistically, how does ByuL want to play this? Because, yeah, we saw him against Classic, but a lot of that was not even as much him choosing how to play. It was Classic kind of dictating it with very in-your-face strategies like going Adept Corsair into Carrier or something like that.
Corsair.
Corsair. Oh my God. Guys, I've been casting a lot of StarCraft. I'm so
we
sorry.
love you all the same. It's fine. Those cheeky Phoenix, those guys. Of course, he was able to transition on from those Phoenix towards those carriers, and we saw ByuL executing a lot of Hydralisk play, very heavy Hydralisk play, which was able to trump it in the end. So can we see things like that? Does Stats like going down those carrier paths? What do you think?
No, like his PvZ, I imagine that we're going to see most of these games should be Archon drop type play. And a lot of times he'll go into a 2-base all-in off of that, or possibly he'll back up into a macro game off of that. But in general, that is the go-to build for Stats. He likes, as you were saying, he's the most stable Protoss. So he uses the most stable builds. And Korean PvZ right now really is on that Archon drop.
Yeah, and I also think that we should mention that Stats has an amazing micro. When you think about, especially during Home Story Cup, I don't know if you've seen the game against Scarlet. First game actually gets 35 kills with one single adept.
Right.
That's what he can do. That's what he can pull off. So imagine this, but instead of adepts like a Prism and Archons, that's something that's going to deal damage all the time. So ByuL has to be prepared. He has to have some kind of strategy to combat that, because Stats is going to be doing those kind of strategy, as you mentioned.
Those numbers are kind of nigh on unbelievable, with one adept being able to do
35.
so much.
I don't even get it. That would be,
well, it was a
I would have
game.
left the game at
It was a
33
weird
kills
game.
on that adept for sure.
It was a super weird game.
Like,
with
33,
12.
I've won, I'm done. It's fine. Well, of course, we can take a look at our first player here to begin off our semi-final.
안녕하세요. 저는 스타크래프트 2 프로게이머 아이디는 스태츠를 쓰고 있는 김대엽입니다. 이번 IEM 무대, 본선 무대를 처음 이렇게 서는 건데 한국에서 열리는 이 IEM 대회도 처음이라 그러더라고요. 그래서 굉장히 뜻깊은 것 같고 우승을 할 수 있을 것 같은 이런 느낌? 스타크래프트 2로 넘어갔을 때였는데 그때 뭔가 좀 뚜렷한 성적은 나오지 않았었어요. 슬럼프 기간이었고 그냥 꾸준히 연습하다 보니까 성적을 내기 시작하게 된 것 같아요. 컨디션 관리 정말 잘해가지고 우승 트로피 들어올리는 모습 보여드릴 테니까 많은 응원 부탁드립니다.
That is Stats, of course, a guy that it seems like he's been having more fun with StarCraft as of late. Of course, he went over to Home Story Cup, was chilling out with the foreigners and really kind of living the StarCraft life on the foreign scene as well. He had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he's enjoying StarCraft 2 quite a bit. Like,
Yeah.
there's been an interview that's been released about him recently, and obviously everybody wants to ask, like, do you consider going back to Wood War at some point? And he's like, no, I'm having a great time in StarCraft. My results are great. I'm having, the best results of his career, to be honest. 3 top 4 this year, 1 top 2, and actually a win in the cross final season 1. Stats is playing his best game, and he's having a lot of fun with it.
I mean, you only need to ask the big daddy Tosis to know that there are 2 best games in the world,
That's
and
right.
StarCraft 2 is one of them.
StarCraft is all of them.
Yeah,
players.
StarCraft is all of them.
It is all of them. And, this guy obviously a pro at both. But, yeah, this is kind of his year. 2016, he was a killer in. Just consistently one of the top players. But we'll see if he can actually take a tournament home.
Yep. Let's see if he can, of course. We're going to get familiar with our second player here, as it is ByuL, who currently has made many grand finals. Let's see if he's going to end up taking a second place again here,
안녕하세요.
going into our semi.
CJ에서 전에 활동했었고 지금은 무소속으로 활동하고 있는 저그 별 한지원입니다. 제 플레이 스타일은 되게 수비적인데 때로는 좀 공격적으로 하기도 해요. 머리 좀 잘 쓰는 그런 스타일인 것 같아요. IEM 고향에서 한다고 소식을 들었을 때는 제가 그때 대회가 없고 방황하던 시기였는데 동기부여가 많이 됐어요. 근데 이렇게 4강까지 좋은 결과를 얻어서 되게 좋은 것 같아요. 처음에는 목표치를 안 정해놓고 했고요. 딱 본선 올라가자마자 연습밖에 안 했거든요. 연습 때도 잘 풀려가지고 우승까지 노려볼 만한 것 같아요. 김대엽, 조금 까다로워요. 유닛 하나하나가 되게 세가지고 기본기 위주로 열심히 할 생각이에요. 이제 게이머 할 시간이 그렇게 길다고 안 느껴져요. 오랜만에 큰 무대에서 많은 사람들 앞에서 경기하는 만큼 감동적인 그런 무대를 만들어보고 싶어요. 주영달 코치 형이랑 병구 형 어제 만나서 밥 사도 되는데.
아 그래요?
형들 이번에 꼭 우승해서 맛있는 밥을 제가 살게요.
Just wants to become the champion, does ByuL. Currently teamless, looking for a team. It's almost like a job interview, really. He needs to push himself onto the top and get himself that team.
Very true. Like, definitely someone worth picking up. He's been one of the top players in the world for quite some time now, but I have bad news for him. I don't think he's going to win this tournament, Claris.
Oh, what makes you say that?
That would be a first for just for starters. That would be a first win for him, first major win, which is like, as we mentioned, he's one of the cons. He gets second place all the time, and he gets super emotional. Like I remember losing that. I think it was the second GSL finals in a row that he lost, and he just burst into tears because that's a dream. When you put that much effort into becoming a programmer and you get to go to that final stage and you lose over and over again, it starts gets to you and start getting to you. And what he's been doing right now, going on the rise once again in 2016, I think it's super impressive that he gets back on it and actually reaches the top 4 of an IEM with that kind of level.
One of those second places was to Innovation, who is awaiting these two players in the grand final as well. So there is all the potential in the world that even if he gets there, he could fall at the last hurdle because right now Innovation's looking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Innovation does look poised to take it down, and the fact that he took out Dark makes me think ByuL would be no different. But the thing is, I feel like Stats is going to take this anyway, like with just how solid he is.
Yeah.
And if you look back to the beginning of 2016, and we're all kind of agreeing was the year of not Hearthstone, but in fact Stats, then you have to look at what happened in that first SSL. I mean, he went up in the loser bracket final against Solar, who brought out a completely new meta. Here's the problem that I have, right? Because when I think to myself, what could ByuL do to possibly win here? Well, maybe kind of reinvent the matchup a little bit by bringing something new. But if you look back at the first SSL that Stats got second place in, Solar brought out a completely new strategy, right, which was Baneling Hydra that we hadn't seen yet in the scene, and Stats still was able to manage to take him down 4-3. And then you look at the finals, and Dark brought out literally, that was the invention, that moment of Ling Baneling in the matchup. No one had ever seen it, and Stats still took 2 games off him.
Yeah.
So looking at that, I'm like, this guy is hyper flexible. No matter what ByuL brings, he's going to be ready for it. So I really am looking at Stats to win this.
It seems like ByuL is a little bit worried about that. I mean, we saw it in the interview there. He appreciates the fact that Stats can be flexible, can be diverse. Funker, is there a realm where he can overcome that? Is there something that ByuL can throw in to overcome that, or what do you think?
I'm trying to think of a strategy that he could use or something like I don't really know, to be honest. Like, there's been a patch recently, so obviously there's some stuff that have not been mapped out yet. So probably he can get something going on with those Hydralisk and maybe going back to the lurker play, which is not that much in fashion these days. Like he has options, but I don't see it working really because Stats, as you mentioned, so flexible. The sole fact that he took 2 games out of Dark in that finals literally blew my mind. And ByuL is not the same caliber of player at the moment as Dark.
That's what I agree with right there. I mean, maybe he proves us wrong. Maybe he's back up to his old form where he's the best Zerg in the world. We're going to see in a minute here.
Well, of course, I just need to inform you that at the moment a PC was being swapped out. That's why we're having a few issues and delays here. So hopefully that will be rectified in just a moment. But of course, these two guys going up head to head. You can see here statistics against the races, Perso, from the tournament, as we can see. So not really too telling, but overall, it's nice to look at numbers. I like numbers.
Yeah, numbers are cool, especially when they're kind of sitting out in space somehow.
I know.
That's kinda neat.
Yeah. This is the future. This is the future we're watching right now.
Well, this is the future from back then when I started the sentence, but you know. But yeah, man, I mean, Stats is looking fantastic. I'm hoping that ByuL kind of returns to form. He's such a fun Zerg to watch when he does.
Yeah.
It's fun, by the way, watching him try to explain his own style. It's like, well, what's your style? It's like, well, I'm really a macro player, but sometimes I get very offensive. I'm like, we call this like a full package player. You kind of do everything, ByuL, and I'm hoping that we see that here. I want to see him mix up some rushes, some macro games, use every single trick you know to try to take out Stats.
I mean, when I saw that, I'm a defensive player, but I kind of feel offensive. I kind of expected Tasteless to come out from behind and be like, "That's StarCraft!" Just kind of like dancing around a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that was just how it was. So, ByuL, he's a full package, but likewise so is Stats. It's hard to argue that.
Going back to what you asked earlier, I think we've mentioned 3 first maps, have gold bases, just exploit them. Try something new.
Right.
I hope he has something in store for us.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I definitely agree with you, especially Habitation Station. I mean, with those golds, you're not going to do something with those golds. Like, come on. Are you just going to play like the shortest rush distance possible on any map ever and not take the gold? So you've got to do something, ByuL.
Yeah, got to do something. Okay, it looks like we're just getting geared up still and waiting for just a moment longer, just a short moment, as we are about to get ready here for our semifinals. Before we head it over to the commentators, predictions, guys. I know I'm asking possibly the wrong person. Or
Stats wins 3-1.
Yeah, Stats win 3-0 actually.
All right, well, let's hand it over to the commentators as we get ready for the second semi-final here for the Intel Extreme Masters Gyeonggi.
Thank you very much, boys on the desk. We're here with the second semifinals, and starting in the bottom right-hand side of the map, playing as the blue Protoss, it's of course Stats.
I am so excited, Johan, for the second semi-finals here of the Intel Extreme Masters. Casting with you in Korea, it feels 2009 all over again. Top side of the map, of course, looking in the main base of ByuL.
A great matchup on the horizon. We didn't even get any camera time, by the way. Why did we even dress up?
Well,
I could have come in my sweatpants. And
maybe they looked at my face and they said, this boy is made for radio, not for camera.
I don't know what the makeup girl was up to, but anyway, a great matchup here between these two who have already showcased their skill in the PvZ matchup earlier in the tournament. Stats defeated Lucira. ByuL lost once to Classic and beat him in the rematch. We studied those games. Any conclusions you came to by watching those?
Yeah, I want to disagree with the boys on the desk, but I really can't. Like, ByuL has not convinced me at all, Todd. Like, obviously he's good, he's a world-class Zerg player, but he seems very lost against certain very standard openings, like the resonating glaives timings. I do like this, by the way, and we're going to talk about this, guys. But he doesn't seem super good against Stargate, doesn't seem very good against standard openings like resonating glaives 3 gates, and that worries me because we know how solid and crisp Stats is.
There were a lot of talks about these gold bases, and we're going to see one come into action here from map number 1 on Vanny from ByuL. Stats, when he played against 2-0 on this map, I believe he went for the 4 Dark Templars opener, which begs the question, if he was to go for that here, how would ByuL be able to defend against it, considering the distance between those bases and how far away that gold base is? Keep in mind, a War Prism can fly very easily from the gold base towards the main or even the other base that ByuL could potentially take. So he's going to have to be on point with everything here, and ByuL actually expands right outside his main here instead of taking the pocket one.
I mean, it's a big problem for Stats if he never scouts the gold, right, Todd? I mean, he pretends like he's blocking this, and he probably thinks that ByuL has his pocket expand, but no, ByuL has the gold. And it's very important that Stats pick up on this, because the gold base will allow Zerg to do weird stuff. Like, maybe it's a mass link drop, Todd. That's possible as well. You know, 3-4 overlords and just drop nothing but links.
I don't really expect Stats to not completely realize what's happening there, but somehow so far he hasn't gone for the full scouting and is only focused on trying to deny that other base. He might check the gold. He's headed towards there right now with the probe.
Yeah, that's a great scout. He really needs this. Meanwhile, there's one happy Ling in the main base. We even saw the cybernetics core block, but this is a great scout for Stats. And now Stats, what you gonna do? Like, I would like to see him go across the map, maybe with 2 adepts, and you really want to get a couple probes. You know, you don't have to get that many. Look at this, Stargate immediately.
Yeah, and a very nicely placed. This is going to be very hard for ByuL to actually spot that one.
He has to cancel his cybernetics core. Cancel the cyber. Okay, he did. Man, he waited for like 99.9%.
That's the only way you want it to be, man. I'm guessing it's going to be an Oracle. And usually you force spores, you try and fly around, pick off some drones if you can, especially like if there's going to be rallying ones between bases, which hopefully for ByuL doesn't happen, because otherwise it would be pretty bad. But yeah, defending against the synergy of adepts on the ground, plus the threat of oracles, is always going to be so tricky. Behind this, though, the big question, what does Stats follow this up with on the grounds? More, obviously more gateways, but does he go for a quick third? Is it resonating glaives quickly or not?
No, I don't think it's going to be resonating glaives. He may try to do 2 more gateways. I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to say, right?
Whoa, he's taking 2 more gases pretty early, no?
Yeah. After an Oracle, there's so many double Stargate.
Oh,
all right.
Wow.
I like it. We're all fans, right, Todd?
Yeah, it looks like Stats wants to play with quite a bit of air. Now the question is he gonna go straight into carriers after the initial Oracle, or do we see Phoenixes come out, which are usually the normal way you go into this kind of build? And yeah, a Phoenix is going to be cute here.
Well, we saw CJ Hero, right? Double Oracle into Phoenixes and then carriers. I think that's an excellent playstyle. Let's see if this Oracle can find some openings, because it's important to realize that this gold-based economy that ByuL has is really going to snowball. So normally Phoenixes picking off a couple drones that even stings out Right now, Stats is going to have to do more. And I like this as well. It was just a single gate opening, so make a couple links, make it harder for Protoss to go up to 3 bases, right? Good play by ByuL so far.
Keep in mind, in his second series against Classic, ByuL had to face the Golden Armada of mass carriers and mass air. And he tried to go into a Hydralisk or Raptor Viper composition with which he wasn't able to beat the late game mass air army from the Protoss player. So I think, surely Stats has watched these games and he thought that ByuL just didn't try to deal with this effectively. So he's like, well, if I just go for this army, he's probably going to go the same way and I'm going to beat him in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, there was this one game, right, where ByuL played against Classic on Vani, and that's a game that Stats has seen for sure as well. And ByuL just looked lost. He kept losing drones over and over again. Then he made a bunch of roaches that didn't really do that much, and from that point on, he was just so far behind. So probably Stats thought the same thing as the guys on the analysis desk, and you and I, is like, well, he doesn't seem super good against Stargate, let's do it. But the gold base does change things up quite a bit. And I really like these links. So far, I like the way that ByuL's playing a lot, Todd. I think this is good play.
You can tell he's thought a lot about this matchup here for the 2 days because he wasn't playing yesterday. That was Dark against Innovation, which was a sick match as well. Really enjoy watching that one. +1 missile on the way now for ByuL, who clearly knows he's going to have to be playing with, I'm guessing, what's going to be a lot of Hydralisks. And third base now on the way here for Stats.
Yeah, I love it. Look at that economy, Todd. 12 drones at one moment. Now 5, 6 more as well. This base is pretty well protected. Spore and Double Queen. Of course, it's inevitable. Ah, good Phoenix Micro. Oh boy, I love it, Todd. It's hard to get me any more excited than when people save their Phoenixes.
That second Spore feels like he's just a little bit late against this amount of Phoenixes, and Stats is going to town on that base. 6 drones, a Queen, and now even sniping some Overlords.
Yeah, this is, look at that Phoenix Micro. It still hasn't lost a single Phoenix. There goes the first one. But still.
It's alive, but still.
Double photon overcharge at home. Should keep this base safe for Stats.
Yo, look at the supply.
Wow, yeah.
Never has it been a better moment to say look at the supply than right now. 67 supply against the 93 supply Protoss. Ahead in probes, ahead in the army. He's got Phoenixes to just wreck everything that he encounters, really.
Wow, those Phoenixes did so much work. Units lost, almost 50 for ByuL, only 8 units or 10 units lost so far for Stats. And these Phoenixes, they're not done yet. The Hydralisk are not even out. Right now, ByuL is just replacing drones over and over again. And we see it once more. He doesn't seem super solid against Stargate play, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular case as well, I feel like it's the gold that kind of held him back. Stats is taking this gold base look really, really bad here. Just because it's so far away, having reinforcements there is obviously going to be really tough. You know, if he had 1 or 2 extra Queens against the first time those Phoenixes came, maybe the snowball wouldn't have happened as badly. But now Fleet Beacon on the way, +1 air weapons about to finish. And we're going to be seeing some carriers.
Yeah, I guess that ByuL just thought, well, I've got 2 Queens and a Spore here, another Spore on the way. Only a madman would try to save all of his Phoenixes and kill every single unit and then still do damage. Well, Stats is that madman. He's done so much work. And right now we see the Zerg producing Hydralisk. Their very first Hydralisk, when the carriers are already on the way.
Yeah.
Artos has said multiple times, every Protoss dies in Korea before they have carriers. Well, let me tell you, Stats ain't gonna die before these carriers are out, Todd. There is no way.
Artos is going to be wrong again?
Artos is going to be wrong in this one. These carriers are very, very, well, mighty fine. They're well timed. It's going to be super solid for Stats. Gotta be careful. He's bleeding out a couple of Phoenixes.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been a great game for him.
I've seen huge chunks of Phoenixes die very quickly in this matchup if you're not careful, Roddy. So definitely need to
You're going
look
to keep
out for
bringing
that.
this up, Todd. Do you know how many Phoenixes I've made in my life? Of course, a couple are going to die.
A couple.
Yeah, well, sometimes 20 at once.
30 Phoenixes to 4 Fungals.
I like this as well. A couple of stasis traps being dropped, buys him extra time. Triple Stargate on the way. I mean, we look at this game, there's really not that much we can say. There's nothing that ByuL can do. If ByuL attacks right now, he's gonna die. He's down in army supply. Well, 19 Hydralisk is all right. I guess he's just gonna gear up for one big Hydra attack with +2 missile attacks. But if the carriers don't seal the deal here, I don't know how you're ever gonna win with carriers, and we all know carriers are good.
Yeah, I mean, especially from Stats, I don't expect him to make the same kind of mistakes that we've seen from some of these Protosses going for mass air. That last game, in the rematch of Classic against ByuL on Daybreak, I did think that Classic should have been able to do better. He was basically maxed out. I didn't like his composition. He just stopped carriers after 3, and he ended up losing to mass Hydralisks and Banelinks on the ground to deal with the Adepts. I really like it a lot better when Protoss only makes carriers, basically, and relies on the interceptors to kind of kill everything. You don't have to go for mass Adepts on the ground, even though it's very tempting to try and counter the Hydralisks. There are Banelings that can deal with that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Todd. I think like having Phoenixes at first is very important because you need the Phoenixes to make it to that stage in the game. And we saw how well these Phoenixes did. But from now on, it would be a mistake to build Phoenix. You just want to get carriers, more and more and more carriers. Because having 3 carriers is nice, 5 is a lot better. And the moment you have 8 or 9, oh boy, you know, that's Protoss paradise right there. And then you're going to really see some Hydralisk melt. So I would love to see Stats build nothing but carriers, and I really think that's what it's going to do as well.
It's one of those Phoenixes. Nice tag here on some of these Hydralisks. Yeah, Stats is doing this. In terms of production, I really like the way he's mixing in, you know, different units. He's going purely for carriers for now, and I'm pretty sure the plan is just to max out and reach the Golden Armada that can't really lose against any Zerg army that you could think of, especially in a game where ByuL, there is no Hive in sight here. No, not anytime soon.
No Vipers, that's going to be hard. Does he have Overseers? Yeah, he has 1 Overseer. I'm not sure if he's going to bring it. This time the Baneling count is non-existent. He's got to be careful with these Hydras because there are stasis traps.
It's like, hey, look, we want to die.
38 Hydralisk. I mean, it's a lot of Hydras, guys. It's going to be a fight where if Stats messes up, then yes, there is a chance. But normally this Protoss army, 6, 7 carriers, plus 2 air weapons, that should really seal the deal.
Yeah, especially since I feel like ByuL's overcommitting on the ground here with the Banelings and Zerglings.
Well, more Adepts being wiped in, so it's good for something, I guess. Does he have Resonating Glaives? Am I crazy, or did I never see
It's
Resonating?
4 carriers, though. There is cannons as well in support of this. The Stasis Trap could be very important if this gets a lot of these units.
Yeah. He does have Glaives, never mind, I remember.
All right, let's see.
Here
127 army supply for the Protoss, 118 for the Zerg.
Here we go. I mean, it's a lot of Hydras, 44 in total, but with time warps, with all these Adepts, Phoenixes and carriers, can the Zerg army be good enough? That's a lot of a swarm, but it's a lot of carriers as well, Todd. Even though it only looks like 4 here so far, ByuL is doing pretty well, but there's still a mothership. More carriers are flying in. The Interceptors, however, are all gone. The Phoenixes will finally start lifting. Man, ByuL's actually doing really good in this fight.
Yeah, the Phoenixes are finally going to come in and start picking up some of these Hydralisks.
Move the carriers!
ByuL needs to target these carriers, and Stats needs to bring them back, because right now they're out of Interceptors, and he's going to get chased. Looks like Arthos is may be right after all. If you go for carriers like this, you may die to mass Hydralisk, and ByuL is making it work here somehow.
Wow, that's unreal. 2 more carries on the way. You got to be careful, Stats. Don't sacrifice your Interceptors when you only have 1 or 2. Stats just needs to buy a little bit of time now. Don't fight with 4 carriers. Fight with 7 or 8 carriers.
But he lost his very important 4th base against a Zerg who's down 5 bases, so
oh my God.
ByuL will have the production behind this. He will stay ahead in army supply, and I'm pretty sure he's going to keep on attacking like this and never let Stats take a 4th base. He might even kill him actually before.
There is Stasis Trap there as well. Unbelievable. This game looked very rough for ByuL for the longest amount of time, but the carrier count wasn't there. The intercept count a lot higher. Use the Phoenixes. Maybe for some lift. This time there are no Banelings, so the Adepts are actually helping out a lot.
Yeah, ByuL might be overextending here. He could get chased by those shades.
Yeah, this is a much better fight for Stats. He's pushing the Zerg army back. It's important that he doesn't overcommit now. Don't lose all the Phoenixes.
Oh, that was
and
move
Adepts.
command as well. Losing a lot of these very important units. I think he might shade forward here to try and chase on this army with the carriers actually coming in and sniping everything.
That's a lot of that Hydralisk, Todd. It's only 18 Hydras remaining. 10 more on the way. On creep, it's going to be maybe a slightly different ball game. But if I was Stats right now, I'd chill for a split second. He doesn't know what we know, that there is no hive, there is no infestation pit. You can sit back and instead of having 5 carriers, fight with 8 or 9 and let that Protoss magic happen.
I'm surprised that Stats actually sacrificed these 2 units. Like every unit is important right now in army supplies at 70 against 82, so he needs to preserve his adept count, he needs to re-expand, kind of turtle on that base, let his mothership finish, which is remaking right now.
I mean, obviously it's always hard right with adepts because you don't see anything anymore. You've got 2 vision range. He's like, that's safe, a couple drones. Surprise, 12 Hydras.
It's been a slugfest, man. So many units have died already in this game, and for now it's going to be ByuL with a slight supply lead. He's starting. Oh wow, I love this. He's taking the gold base forward. That means he's going to be able to reinforce even closer to the fight. Stats going for a Templar Archives. Do you think he's thinking about Storm already?
Yeah, I think Storm is great, but I would still like to see more carriers. I mean, 7 is good, but you know, 9, 10 is so much better. But I still think with this should be enough, actually. 56 Interceptors against 31 Hydralisks. There's going to be a Guardian Shield as well. A couple force fields can be very useful. Here we go again, Johan. Zerg army is moving forward.
Yeah, and the mothership is going to cloak everything. I don't see any Overseer nearby, so ByuL needs to get on and out of there. I like that choice of taking the gold, because he's going to be so far forward towards stats. He might even make spores. Imagine ByuL maxes out and he thinks his hydralisks are not enough to deal with the mass carriers. You just make a ton of spores and you go forward, and then from there you just don't let Protoss expand anymore. You just ride out, win the fight.
But still, without a infestation pit, without a hive, is this really doable? I mean, yes, ByuL's going to be a lot richer because he has so many more bases, but this Protoss army is getting very, very, very strong. The carriers with +2, a lot of interceptors this time.
And it looks like Stats actually wants to engage into this. I'm a little bit surprised, instead of just turtling and getting more units.
Amazing force fields though. I love these force fields. What a perfect circle. The Banelings didn't connect with these adepts at all. But once again, he's losing the majority of the interceptors. Can he recall?
Yeah, I think he's going to. Actually, no. He seems to be content with the way the fight is going now. I mean, there is no Banelings left, and he's got a couple of adepts on the ground doing a lot of tanking for these carriers to do the job.
He has no interceptors left at all. You really can't afford to lose these carriers. The carriers are so expensive. Once again, that's a pretty damn good fight for ByuL. How is this happening?
And Stats gonna try to reinforce with more adepts on the ground here. Those can do very well against these hydralisks, but there's just a critical mass from ByuL with his upgrades. He had to for the longest time from that first big fight that happened. And somehow the Zerg player, being stuck on lair tech the entire game, is making the most of it and looks like he might be able to take it.
You know, it's really funny. He's never taken the pocket expand. I think this is one of these moments where he just forgot about it.
Yeah,
it happens
there's
in
so
games.
many games that it's become the standard.
Yeah.
It's happened so many times.
Obviously, having the gold is very nice, though. And look at these supplies. 106 against 65. It's going to be cannons again. But you need force fields to keep these cannons alive against the Banelings. What a game by ByuL. He really had a very rough early game, in my opinion. No Storm, by the way. Hopefully...
He's swapping in High Templar, so I guess Archons on the ground to try and tank some of these Banelings and then do some more tanking work against these Hydralisks. But they're still going to die very fast against this army.
I just want to see more carriers, Todd. Like, it's going to be 5 carriers now. 5 carriers is very, very beatable.
Because I don't think we're going to see them here in this game. Stats being stuck on 5 of those right now. He's trying to reinforce with more gateway units. Double overcharge is too far away to actually attack these Hydralisks.
Here comes the swarm one more time. Can the interceptors do the job? Not at all. They all just got shut down immediately, and these carriers are useless, and this may be an impossible hold now for Stats, because yes, there are carriers, but there are no interceptors. This army does nothing. It's 2 cannons and a mothership against all these Hydras. GG. Wow. What? Artosis, he's always right. What year is this?
This is the year where it all changed.